before we begin, imagine that there is no clock beside your bed, no glowing screen, no traffic outside, no message waiting for you, no sound of an airplane passing overhead. Instead, somewhere beyond the darkness of your room, a rooster has just started calling. It is still early, very early. The village is quiet, but it is not completely silent. A dog moves somewhere near a doorway. A wooden shutter creaks in the wind. From a nearby house comes the soft sound of someone coughing, followed by the rustle of straw. You open your eyes. For a moment, you do not know what time it is, and then you remember. There is no need to know. The sun will tell you, so you remain where you are, lying beneath a rough wool blanket, listening to the slow beginning of another day in medieval Europe. There is nothing extraordinary about this morning, and that is exactly why we are going to spend it here. Not in a castle, not at a royal feast, not on a battlefield. We are going to spend the day with ordinary people. People who wake before sunrise because there is bread to make, animals to feed, water to carry, clothes to mend, fields to tend, meals to prepare, and fires to keep alive. People whose names have almost certainly disappeared from history. They left no famous books behind, no portraits, no statues, no grand monuments, but they lived. They laughed. They became tired. They worried about tomorrow. They sat beside warm fires. They complained about the weather. They waited for spring. They watched their children grow. And just as we do, they went to sleep at the end of the day. Tonight, we will follow one ordinary day in their world. There will be no rush. We will walk slowly through a medieval village, down its muddy lanes, past its small houses, across its fields, into its market, and back again as evening settles over the rooftops. You do not need to remember every detail. You do not need to memorize dates. Simply imagine that you are there. The morning is beginning, and the medieval world is waking up. The room is dark. The walls are made of timber and woven branches covered with clay and straw. They are not perfectly straight. Nothing here is perfectly straight. The floor beneath you is packed earth. It is hard, but familiar. A few pieces of straw have escaped from the bedding and are scattered nearby. The air is cool. You pull the blanket closer. Across the room, someone is still sleeping. A child turns over. An older person coughs quietly. The fire in the hearth has almost gone out during the night. There is still a little warmth beneath the ash, but the room is beginning to feel cold. This is one of the first things you notice about medieval life. Warmth is precious. It does not simply appear when you want it. There is no button to press, no radiator, no central heating. If you want warmth, someone has to find wood, carry it home, split it, dry it, and place it on the fire. So eventually, someone gets up, slowly, carefully. The first task of the day is not breakfast. It is fire. A hand moves through the gray ash. A small glowing ember is uncovered. Dry straw is placed over it. Someone bends close and blows gently. Nothing happens. They try again. A tiny orange light appears. Then another. A thin thread of smoke rises. More straw is added. A few small pieces of wood follow. The ember begins to glow. The fire is alive again. It is a small victory. The room slowly changes. The darkness becomes orange. Faces become visible. The wooden beams above you emerge from the shadows. Someone begins preparing breakfast. There is no great choice of food. Perhaps there is yesterday's bread. Perhaps a little cheese. Perhaps some porridge. If the household keeps chickens, there may be an egg. If the family is fortunate, there may be bacon or salted meat. But most mornings are simple. Bread, porridge, something warm, something filling. The purpose of breakfast is not pleasure. It is energy. There is work ahead. Outside, the sky is beginning to lighten. The village is waking. When you step outside, the cold air touches your face. For a moment, you stand still. The village looks almost peaceful. Small houses stand close together. Some are timber-framed. Some have walls made from mud and straw. Their roofs are covered with thatch. Smoke rises from several chimneys, or more accurately, from openings in the roofs or walls where smoke can escape. The smell is unmistakable. Wood smoke, damp earth, animals, bread, and the faint smell of yesterday's cooking. A narrow path runs between the houses. After rain, it becomes mud. In summer, it becomes dusty. There are no paved sidewalks, no streetlights, no signs telling you where you are. You simply know. This is home. A woman is carrying a wooden bucket. She is going toward the well. Another person is already there. They greet each other. The conversation is ordinary. Someone's cow is ill. Someone's son has gone to work in another village. The baker's daughter is getting married. The rain last night was heavier than expected. Nothing that would ever appear in a history book, and yet these conversations are part of history. Most of medieval life was made from moments like this. A greeting, a complaint, a joke, a rumor. A small piece of news passed from one person to another. The village slowly fills with sound. Roosters, dogs, children, cows, chickens. The creaking of wooden carts, the chopping of wood, the clatter of buckets. Someone calls from a doorway. Someone else answers. And somewhere nearby, a hammer begins striking metal. The village is awake. There is always something to do. This is perhaps the simplest truth of medieval life. Work does not wait. If you are living on a farm, the seasons decide much of your life. In spring, there is planting. In summer, there is tending. In autumn, there is harvesting. In winter, there is preparation. But every season contains smaller tasks. Animals need feeding. Water needs carrying. Tools need repairing. Clothes need washing. Food needs preparing. Wood needs collecting. Fences need fixing. Nothing is automatic. Imagine needing water and having to walk to the well. Imagine wanting bread and knowing that someone first had to grow the grain. The grain had to be harvested. It had to be dried. It had to be threshed. It had to be ground into flour. The flour had to be mixed with water. The dough had to be prepared. The oven had to be heated. Only then could bread appear on the table. A simple loaf contains a great deal of work, and medieval people knew this. They could not afford to forget where food came from. The well is one of the most important places in the village. You walk there with a bucket. The path is uneven. Your shoes are already damp from the morning grass. At the well, several people are waiting. There is no supermarket, no tap, no bottle sitting conveniently in the kitchen. Water comes from here. The well may be lined with stone or wood. A rope hangs down. The bucket is lowered. You hear the splash. Then the rope becomes heavy. You pull. Slowly. The bucket rises. Water moves inside it. Your hands become cold. When the bucket reaches the top, you lift it carefully. It is heavier than it looks. You understand something immediately. Water is work. Every household needs it, every day, and someone has to carry it. The women and girls of the household often take on much of this responsibility, though the exact division of work varies from place to place and household to household. A young child may carry a smaller container. An older person may stay near the house. Everyone contributes somehow. There is little room for the idea of doing nothing. Even children have work. A boy may be asked to watch the animals. A girl may help with spinning wool. Another child may collect sticks. Someone may sweep the floor. Someone may carry food to the chickens. Their childhood is different from ours. There is still play. There are still games. There is still laughter. But childhood and work are closely connected. You learn by helping. You learn because someone needs your hands. Beyond the houses are the fields. This is where the village gets much of its food. The fields may be divided into long strips. Different families work different pieces. There are no giant machines moving across the land. Instead, there are people. There are oxen. There are wooden plows. There are simple tools. A farmer walks behind the plow. The earth turns slowly. The work is physical, very physical. The body becomes part of the machinery. Hands grip handles. Feet push against the ground. Shoulders move. Backs ache. There is no shortcut. If the weather is good, the work continues. If the weather is bad, the work may become harder. But rain does not necessarily mean a day off. Sometimes rain is exactly what the crops need. Sometimes it arrives at the wrong moment. Too much rain can ruin a harvest. Too little can be just as dangerous. The medieval farmer lives with the weather in a way that is difficult for modern people to imagine. We check forecasts. They watch clouds. We look at weather apps. They look at the sky. We know the temperature. They know the feeling of the wind. We hear predictions. They listen to birds. Their knowledge is not scientific in the modern sense, but it is practical. It comes from generations of observation. By mid-morning, the village smells of food. Bread is being baked. Porridge is being stirred. Someone is cooking cabbage. Another household has a pot hanging over the fire. The contents are simple. Perhaps beans, perhaps peas, perhaps onions, perhaps vegetables, perhaps a little meat. The smell spreads through the village. Food does not remain hidden inside kitchens. It becomes part of the atmosphere. A hungry person can smell someone else's dinner. A baker can smell another baker's bread. People know what their neighbors are cooking. This does not necessarily mean that everyone has plenty. Far from it. Food security is one of the great concerns of medieval life. A good harvest means relief. A poor harvest means worry. A long winter means careful planning. Salted food is valuable because it lasts. Grain is valuable because it can be stored. A full barn means something close to safety. An empty barn means fear. The future is sitting inside the grain store. Let's return to the house. It is smaller than most modern homes. There may be only one main room. The family sleeps, cooks, eats, works, and talks in the same general space. Privacy is limited, very limited. There may be a sleeping area separated by a curtain, perhaps a loft, perhaps another small room. But the idea of everyone having a private bedroom is not normal. At night, several people may sleep close together. Animals may sometimes be kept nearby, particularly in colder weather. The warmth is useful. The smell is less pleasant. The house is dark compared with modern standards. Windows are small. Glass is expensive and uncommon in ordinary homes. A wooden shutter may cover an opening. During the day, sunlight enters through the doorway and small openings. At night, candles and lamps provide light. But light itself costs something. Candles require material. Oil requires production. Firewood is labor. So medieval people do not simply turn on lights whenever they feel like reading. Darkness is normal. The night belongs to the night. Inside one house, a woman sits near the doorway. She is spinning. The movement is repetitive. The fingers work with wool. The spindle turns, again and again. The work looks almost hypnotic. This is one of the quiet sounds of medieval life. A spindle turning, thread becoming longer. The hands continuing without much thought. Clothing requires enormous effort. There are no clothing stores. There is no factory producing thousands of shirts. Someone must make the material. Someone must spin the fibers. Someone must weave them. Someone must cut them. Someone must sew them. Clothes are valuable. A garment may be repaired many times. A tear does not mean something is thrown away. It means someone reaches for a needle. A worn sleeve may receive another piece of cloth. A child's clothing may eventually be passed to a younger child. Nothing is wasted easily. This creates a different relationship with possessions. A person may own very few things, but those things matter. A good knife matters. A strong pair of shoes matters. A warm cloak matters. A cooking pot matters. A blanket matters. A wooden chest matters. The fewer things you own, the more important each thing becomes. At the edge of the village, the blacksmith is already working. His workshop is warmer than most places. The fire is bright. The sound of metal striking metal carries through the air. Bang, pause, bang, bang. The rhythm is steady. The blacksmith has a skill that the village needs. Horses need shoes. Tools break. Knives become dull. Locks need repairing. Farm equipment needs maintenance. The blacksmith's work is difficult, but it is also respected. He has knowledge, not the kind found in a university. There may be no university anywhere nearby. His knowledge is in his hands. He knows how hot the metal should become. He knows when it is ready. He knows how much force to use. He knows the sound of a good strike. He can look at a damaged tool and understand what happened. This kind of knowledge passes from master to apprentice. A young boy may spend years watching. First he carries things, then he cleans, then he learns. Eventually, perhaps, he becomes a craftsman himself. If today is market day, the village becomes busier. People arrive from nearby settlements. Some walk, some ride horses, some bring carts. They carry things to sell: eggs, cheese, grain, wool, leather, pottery, vegetables, salt, tools, cloth. Perhaps a merchant has arrived from farther away. That person may bring things most villagers rarely see: spices, fine cloth, wine, metal goods, dried fruit, objects from another region. For a medieval villager, A market can be a window into a much larger world. Most days, life is local. The village, the nearby fields, the church, the forest, the neighboring settlement. But the market reminds everyone that the world extends beyond the horizon. A merchant has traveled. A stranger speaks differently. Someone has seen a distant town. Someone knows a man who once traveled to a major city. Stories move farther than people. A rumor can cross many villages. A tale about a king can arrive before the king ever does. Coins exist, but not everyone uses them every day. Much of medieval economic life involves goods and services. You may exchange something. You may owe someone. You may receive payment in another form. A farmer may sell grain. A craftsman may receive food. A household may owe rent or taxes. The exact system depends greatly on where and when you are. Medieval Europe is not one single place. It is a huge collection of kingdoms, towns, villages, cultures, languages, religions, customs, and laws. Life in England is not exactly the same as life in France. Life in Northern Europe differs from life in Italy. A coastal village is different from an inland village. A wealthy town is different from a poor rural settlement. And life changes dramatically between the early Middle Ages and the late Middle Ages. Still, there are similarities. The rhythm of the seasons, the importance of food, the importance of family, the importance of land, the importance of work, and the constant presence of uncertainty. Around midday, a bell sounds. The sound travels across the village. For people living in medieval Christian Europe, the church is not simply a building. It is part of the rhythm of life. The bells mark time. They announce services. They may signal danger. They may announce important events. The church calendar shapes the year. Feast days, fasting days, holy days, festivals, funerals, weddings, baptisms. The churchyard may be one of the places where villagers gather. People know the local priest. They know the church. They know the stories. Faith is woven deeply into everyday life for many people. But medieval people are not simply living in a world of prayer. They are also dealing with very ordinary concerns: a broken roof, a sick cow, a missing tool, a difficult neighbor, a poor harvest, a wedding, a new baby, a debt, a journey. Life is both spiritual and practical. The main meal of the day may come around midday. The family gathers. There is a pot near the fire. Steam rises. Bread is placed on the table. Perhaps there is a thick soup. Perhaps beans. Perhaps vegetables. Maybe there is meat if the household is fortunate or the occasion is special. The food is not arranged beautifully. There are no photographs. Nobody worries about presentation. The meal is there to be eaten. People talk. Someone tells a story. A child asks a question. Someone laughs. Someone complains. The dog watches. A baby makes a noise. The fire crackles. For a few minutes, work stops. This is important. Even in a difficult life, there are moments of rest. A meal is not only about nutrition, it is also about being together. After the meal, the village begins working again. The sun has moved across the sky. The morning cold has disappeared. In the fields, people continue their work. A farmer checks a fence. Someone repairs a wooden tool. Children carry bundles of grass. A woman washes clothing. Another person prepares wool. The blacksmith continues at his forge. The baker prepares another batch of bread. The carpenter measures wood. Every occupation has its own rhythm, and every occupation depends on other occupations. The farmer needs the blacksmith. The blacksmith needs the farmer. The baker needs grain. The farmer needs tools. The household needs cloth. The weaver needs wool. The village is an interconnected machine made entirely of human hands. No single person produces everything. Everyone depends on someone else. Washing clothes is a serious task. There are no washing machines. Water must be collected. The clothing must be soaked. It must be scrubbed. It must be rinsed. It must be dried. In some places, people use streams or rivers. Soap may be available, depending on time and place, but cleaning methods vary. The work is hard on the hands. Cloth becomes heavy when wet. A simple shirt is not simple to maintain. This helps explain why medieval people often owned fewer clothes. A garment represents labor. When you look at an old piece of cloth, you're looking at hours of work. Someone made the fibers. Someone spun them. Someone wove them. Someone cut them. Someone stitched them. Someone washed them. Someone repaired them. A piece of clothing is almost a small history of the household. Not everyone is working every minute. Children find ways to play. They run through the village. They chase one another. They play simple games. They use sticks. They throw stones. They imitate adults. They invent competitions. A wooden object becomes a toy. A piece of cloth becomes something else. A ball may be made from whatever materials are available. Their imagination has room to work. Because there are not many manufactured toys, a child does not need a shelf full of plastic objects. A stick can become a sword. A stone can become a marker. A piece of wood can become a cart. The world itself becomes the toy. Their games are not always peaceful. Children argue. They fight. They become friends again. They laugh. They cry. In that sense, children have not changed very much. Beyond the fields lies the forest. It is darker than the open land. The trees are tall. The ground is covered with leaves. There are birds, insects, small animals, perhaps deer, perhaps wild boar. The forest is useful. It provides firewood, building materials, berries, nuts, mushrooms, wild plants, game. But it can also be dangerous. A forest is not simply a beautiful place for a medieval villager. It is a place of work and sometimes fear. A person entering the forest must pay attention. The paths may be difficult. Some forests are controlled by lords, and hunting rights may be restricted. A person cannot necessarily take whatever they want. Land belongs to someone. Trees belong to someone. Animals may belong to someone. Medieval society is full of rules. Some are written, many are simply understood. If the village lies within a manor, the people may owe obligations to a lord. This is one of the most important parts of medieval rural society. Land is not simply free for anyone to use. There are rents, duties, taxes, services. The exact arrangements vary greatly across Europe and across centuries, but many rural people live within systems of dependence. A peasant may have rights. A peasant may also have obligations. The lord may have authority. The local community may have its own customs. A village may have common land. There may be communal rules about grazing animals, There may be meetings. Disputes may be settled locally. Medieval society is complicated. It is tempting to imagine a simple pyramid with a king at the top and peasants at the bottom. Real life is more complicated. People belong to families, villages, guilds, religious communities, manors, towns, kingdoms. Different identities overlap. If you leave the village and travel toward a town, the world changes. The road may be crowded, carts move slowly, travelers walk, merchants carry goods, animals make their way through the streets. The town is noisy, much noisier than the village. There are workshops, shops, markets, churches, taverns, homes, warehouses. The streets can be narrow. Buildings lean toward one another. The smell can be strong. Human waste and animal waste may be present. Water quality can vary. Cleanliness is a complicated subject. Medieval people certainly cared about cleanliness. They washed. They cleaned clothes. They bathed in many places and periods. But sanitation systems were far less developed than those in modern cities. The modern idea of a clean, paved, sewer-connected city does not exist. Life is messier. Imagine entering a small inn. Inside, the room is warm. There is a fire. People are talking. A traveler sits at a table. He has been walking for several days. His boots are covered with mud. He tells someone where he came from. Another person listens. Someone pours a drink. There is bread, perhaps stew, perhaps meat. The inn is a place where news travels. A traveler brings stories. Someone has heard about a war. Someone knows that a bridge has collapsed. Someone says prices are rising. Someone has heard about a marriage. Someone claims to know what the king is planning. Most of these stories are probably incomplete. Some are wrong. But information travels through people. There is no internet, no newspaper arriving every morning, no television, no radio. People are the communication network. A traveler is like a moving newspaper. Travel is difficult. Even a journey of a few days requires preparation. You need food. You need water. You need suitable clothing. You need somewhere to sleep. You need to know the route. You need to consider weather. You may encounter difficult roads, rivers, forests, bandits, illness, broken wheels, lost animals. The journey itself becomes an experience. Distance feels different when you travel on foot. A place that is 50 kilometers away is not simply 50 kilometers away. It may be several days away. That changes how you imagine the world. A nearby village is genuinely nearby. A distant city feels truly distant. The horizon has a different meaning. Eventually, the afternoon begins to fade. The sunlight becomes softer. The shadows grow longer. The work begins to slow. Farmers return from the fields. Tools are carried home. Animals are brought closer. Cows are milked. Chickens settle down. Children are called inside. The village becomes quieter. Smoke rises from the houses. Dinner is being prepared. The same fire that warmed the house in the morning is now cooking the evening meal. A pot hangs above it. Someone stirs. Someone cuts bread. Someone adds vegetables. The room smells warm. After the cold and work of the day, the fire feels comforting. This may be one of the most important objects in the entire house. The hearth. It provides heat, light, cooking, a place for people to gather. It is the center of domestic life. The evening meal is often simple. There may be leftover soup, bread, cheese, porridge, vegetables, perhaps meat, perhaps fish, depending on the region. The family eats. There is less urgency now. The day's work is mostly finished. People talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow is already waiting. Someone needs to repair something. Someone needs to visit another village. Someone has work in the fields. Someone needs to go to the market. A child needs new shoes. A roof needs attention. Life is planned in small steps. There is no 5-year plan. There may not even be a detailed plan for next month. The future is uncertain, but tomorrow is usually enough to think about. When the meal is finished, nobody immediately disappears into separate rooms. There are no separate rooms to disappear into. People remain together. The fire burns. Someone tells a story. Perhaps it is an old story, a tale about a saint, a tale about a king, a tale about a clever farmer, a story about a monster, a story about a neighbor. The truth does not always matter. Stories are entertainment. They are memory. They are teaching. They are a way of passing time. Imagine hearing the same story several times. There is no streaming service, no endless supply of entertainment. A good storyteller is valuable. A song can be remembered for years. A joke can travel between villages. A legend can become part of local identity. The spoken word is powerful because there is little else. Outside, darkness has arrived. The village looks different now. The paths have disappeared into shadow. The fields are almost invisible. The forest is black. The stars are bright, much brighter than they appear in a modern city. There are fewer artificial lights to compete with them. The Milky Way stretches across the sky. A medieval person does not need an astronomy app to know that the sky is full of stars. The stars are simply there. Every night, people use them for stories, for calendars, for navigation, for wonder. The moon changes the landscape. On a bright night, the road can still be seen. On a moonless night, darkness feels complete. A dog barks. Someone closes a door. A baby cries, then becomes quiet. The village slowly settles. Now imagine the same village in winter. The day is shorter. The cold is deeper. The work changes. There is less agricultural labor, but winter is not a holiday. Wood must be gathered. Animals must be fed. Tools must be repaired. Clothing must be mended. Food stores must be protected. A long winter can be dangerous. The household watches its supplies. How much grain remains? How much salt? How much dried food? How much firewood? The answers matter. Winter makes time feel different. A full storehouse is comforting. A nearly empty one is frightening. People have always worried about food, but in a world where the next harvest is months away, the worry can be very real. Then comes summer. The fields are green. The days are long. Work begins early, sometimes before sunrise. The heat can become exhausting, but there is also hope. Crops are growing. Fruit appears. Animals have food. The world looks abundant. Summer is beautiful, but it is also demanding. The harvest will come, and when it comes, there will be no time to waste. Every person who can work may be needed. The harvest is not simply a season. It is a race against weather. Grain must be gathered. dried, stored, protected. If rain arrives at the wrong time, months of work can be threatened. When the harvest is safely inside, there is relief, perhaps a celebration, perhaps music, perhaps dancing. The end of harvest is one of the great moments in the agricultural year. Bread deserves its own moment. For many medieval Europeans, bread is more than a side dish. It is central to life. Different people eat different kinds of bread, depending on region, wealth, and available grain. Wheat produces lighter bread. Rye and other grains may produce darker bread. The bread of a wealthy household may look very different from the bread of a poor household. But bread connects everyone. It begins in the field. A seed enters the earth. Months pass. The plant grows. It is harvested. The grain is separated. It is ground. The flour becomes dough. The dough becomes bread. When you hold a loaf, you're holding months of work. That is why wasting bread feels different in this world. It is not simply food. It represents time. Without modern clocks and calendars on every wall, people experience time differently. The sun matters. The church bells matter. The seasons matter. Religious festivals matter. Agricultural tasks matter. The year is not simply January through December. It is planting, growing, harvesting, winter, spring, feast days, fast days, market days, local traditions. People remember time through events. After the harvest, before Easter, during the long winter, after the wedding, before the fair. Time is connected to life itself. Marriage is usually more than a private, romantic decision. Family matters, property matters, work matters, social connections matter. Expectations vary greatly depending on class, region, and period. For ordinary rural people, marriage may mean creating a household that can survive. Two people need to work together. There may be land, animals, tools, children, responsibilities. A wedding can be joyful. There may be food, music, dancing, relatives, neighbors. But marriage is also practical. A household is an economic unit. Everyone has a role, and the success of the household depends on cooperation. A medieval child does not remain a child forever. As they grow older, responsibilities increase. A small child may carry sticks. An older child may tend animals. A teenager may work in the fields. Another may become an apprentice. A daughter may learn household skills. A son may learn a craft. But these roles are not absolute. Medieval society is diverse. Women work in agriculture. Women work in trades. Women run households. Women may work in markets. Men also perform household tasks. The exact division depends on place, class, occupation, and circumstance. The important thing is that almost everyone contributes. The household is a team. One thing we cannot ignore is illness. Medieval people lived without modern medicine. A small injury could become serious. An infection could be dangerous. Childbirth could be dangerous. A fever could be frightening. People used remedies based on knowledge available to them. Herbs, rest, food, prayers, local healers, physicians, where available. Midwives, traditional knowledge. Some treatments helped. Some did nothing. Some were harmful. People did not understand disease in the same way we do today. But they were not ignorant of suffering. They knew when someone was sick. They knew how quickly a healthy person could become weak. They knew the importance of care. A sick family member could change the entire household. Someone had to provide food. Someone had to fetch water. Someone had to stay awake. Someone had to hope. Death is much more visible in medieval life. People die at home. Children die. Adults die. Old people die. Young people die. The community knows. There are funerals, bells, prayers, burials, grief. The dead person may have been a neighbor. Everyone knew. Modern society often hides death away in hospitals and institutions. Medieval people encounter it more directly. That does not mean they are constantly thinking about death. They still laugh. They still celebrate. They still plan. They still fall in love. They still worry about money. But death is a familiar part of life. And perhaps this changes how people think about time. A year feels valuable. A good harvest feels valuable. A family meal feels valuable. A sunny afternoon feels valuable. Not every day is hard work. There are festivals, markets, weddings, religious celebrations, seasonal gatherings, music, dancing, games, food. On these days, people may dress in their better clothing. Visitors arrive. The village becomes louder. Children run everywhere. Someone plays an instrument. People sing. There may be drinking. There may be arguments. There may be laughter. Someone falls asleep before the celebration ends. For a few hours, the burdens of everyday work become less important. This is something human beings have always done. We work, then we celebrate. We become tired. Then we find a reason to laugh. Return again to the kitchen. There's no refrigerator. This changes everything. Food must be used carefully. Some foods are preserved. Meat may be salted or smoked. Vegetables may be stored. Grain can be kept for long periods if properly stored. Cheese can last longer than fresh milk. People learn how to make food survive. Preservation is not a hobby. It is survival. The kitchen is also a place of knowledge. A person knows how long something should cook, how much salt to use, how to preserve meat, how to make bread, how to prepare herbs, how to stretch a meal. This knowledge is passed through families. No recipe book is required. The recipe is in memory, and now the day is almost finished. But before we leave, imagine the next morning, the same rooster, the same cold air, the same hearth, the same bucket, the same fields, the same work. At first, it might seem repetitive, but this repetition is the foundation of medieval life. Day after day, season after season, generation after generation, people plant, people harvest, people marry, children are born, children grow, people leave, people return, people build, people repair, people remember. The world changes slowly. A house may stand for generations. A path may remain in the same place for hundreds of years. A field may be plowed by a family whose descendants will continue using it long after the original farmer is forgotten. History often remembers kings. It remembers wars. It remembers castles. It remembers famous battles. It remembers rulers whose names fill books. But most people who lived in medieval Europe were not kings. They were farmers, bakers, carpenters, weavers, blacksmiths, fishermen, merchants, mothers, fathers, children, old people, young people, people who lived ordinary lives. They built the houses, they grew the food, they repaired the roads, they made the clothes, they raised children, They cared for animals. They told stories. They went to markets. They went to church. They argued with neighbors. They fell in love. They grew old. And eventually, they disappeared from living memory. But their lives mattered. Without millions of ordinary people, there would have been no medieval kingdoms to remember, no castles, no cities, no cathedrals, no armies, no trade, no great stories. The ordinary person was the foundation of everything. Let us walk through the village one last time. The sun is low, the sky is pale gold, the fields are quiet. A farmer closes a gate. A child carries a small bundle of sticks. Someone calls a dog. Smoke rises from the roofs. The air is cooler now. You pass the well. It is empty. The market stalls are gone. The road is quiet. A horse stands beside a fence. You hear its breathing. Somewhere in the distance, a bell rings. You continue walking. There is no hurry. Nobody is checking the time. Nobody is waiting for a notification. The evening simply arrives. You reach the house. The door opens. Warmth comes toward you. Inside, the fire is burning. Someone has prepared food. You sit down. The wooden bench is hard, but after a long day, it feels comfortable. There is soup, bread, perhaps cheese, perhaps something else. You eat slowly. The room is warm. The fire makes small sounds. Someone speaks. Someone laughs. The youngest child is already becoming sleepy. The oldest person sits close to the fire. Outside, darkness has covered the village. There are no streetlights, no headlights, only occasional firelight behind wooden shutters. The stars are beginning to appear. You finish your meal. The bowl is empty. The bread is gone. The day is nearly over. One by one, people prepare for bed. The fire is reduced. The house becomes darker. The animals are quiet. Someone checks the door. Someone moves the last piece of wood. The room is cool again. You lie down. The blanket covers you. The straw beneath you rustles. You hear someone breathing nearby. A dog moves outside. The wind touches the roof. For a moment, you think about the day. It was not extraordinary. No king arrived. No battle happened. No great discovery was made. You simply worked. You ate. You talked. You walked. You listened. You watched the sun move across the sky. And yet this was the life of millions. Ordinary. Quiet. Sometimes difficult. Sometimes beautiful. The village is asleep now. Almost everyone. A few embers remain in the hearth. The fire's low. The stars are bright. The fields lie under darkness. The forest stands beyond them. Somewhere far away, another village is sleeping. Another family has finished its meal. Another child has fallen asleep beside a parent. Another farmer is resting after a long day. Another baker will wake before sunrise. Another blacksmith will light his forge. Another woman will carry water. Another shepherd will take animals into the fields. Another person will look at the morning sky and wonder what weather is coming. And tomorrow, the same world will begin again. Years will pass. The child sleeping near the fire will grow. The young farmer will become older. The house will be repaired. The roof will be replaced. The fields will continue producing crops. Some years will be good. Some will be difficult. There will be weddings. There will be funerals. There will be births. There will be journeys. There will be changes in rulers. News will arrive from distant places. Wars will come and go. Markets will grow. Roads will change. A new building may appear, a new priest may arrive, a new generation will take the place of the old, and through all of it, ordinary life will continue. People will wake, people will work, people will eat, people will sleep. Perhaps the strangest thing about stepping into this world is not the poverty, not the lack of technology, not the hard work. It is the different feeling of time. Modern life moves quickly. Messages arrive instantly. Food can cross oceans. A person can speak to someone thousands of kilometers away. We can know what happened on the other side of the world before breakfast. Medieval people could not. Their world was smaller in one sense, but their attention was often focused on what was immediately around them. The weather, the harvest, the fire, the animals, the people nearby, the road, the next meal, tomorrow. This does not mean medieval life was peaceful. It certainly was not. There was violence, disease, poverty, inequality, hunger, hard labor, danger. But there were also ordinary moments. A warm fire, fresh bread, a summer morning, a child's laughter, a good harvest, a song, a conversation, a quiet evening. These moments were enough to fill a life. Now the village is completely quiet. The last light has disappeared. The fire in the house is almost gone. You close your eyes. The blanket is warm. The room is dark. Outside, the wind moves through the trees. A distant animal makes a sound. Then silence again. There's nothing else you need to do tonight. The fields can wait. The tools can wait. The market can wait. Tomorrow will come, but it has not arrived yet. For now, you can rest. Imagine the village as it looks from above. A handful of dark roofs, thin trails of smoke, a winding road, fields stretching into the darkness, a church tower rising above the houses. Beyond it, forest. Beyond the forest, other villages. Beyond those villages, towns. Beyond the towns, cities. And beyond the cities, a vast continent, Europe, medieval Europe. A world filled with millions of lives, most of them unknown to us, most of their names lost. But each one was once a complete human life. Someone who woke in the morning, someone who had a favorite food, someone who disliked the cold, someone who worried about money, someone who loved another person, someone who hoped for a good harvest, someone who wanted their child to be safe, someone who sat beside a fire on a quiet evening, someone who eventually closed their eyes and went to sleep. And so we leave the village, slowly, quietly. There's no need to wake anyone. The baker is sleeping. The blacksmith is sleeping. The farmer is sleeping. The children are sleeping. The old woman near the fire is sleeping. The animals are quiet. The fields are resting. The road is empty. Above everything, the stars remain. Tomorrow, the rooster will call again. The fire will be lit again. The well will be visited again. The fields will wait for the morning. Another loaf of bread will be made. Another pot will be placed over the fire. Another conversation will begin. Another ordinary day will pass. And perhaps that is the most remarkable thing about history. Not that great things happened, but that ordinary life continued. Quietly, patiently, one morning after another, one meal after another, one generation after another, until centuries passed and the world changed. The houses disappeared. The roads moved. The people became names in forgotten records, and then even the names disappeared. But for a little while tonight, we have walked beside them. We have heard their fires. We have followed their paths. We have watched their day begin and end. And now, just as they did, we can rest. The village is dark. The fire is low. The fields are silent. The stars are above you. There is nowhere you need to go, nothing you need to finish. Tomorrow can wait. For now, simply listen to the quiet of the old village, the quiet of the fields, the quiet of the night, and somewhere beyond the darkness, the first hint of morning is already waiting. But not yet. Not yet. For now, sleep. Stories before sleep.